So my postgrad research was actually such a non-technical thing, right? So I got my bachelor's of computing, which is a 4-year degree. But in your 4th year, so it's an NQF level 8, so it's an honors degree.
Okay.
So in your 4th year, you do like your honors level research and that sort of stuff. And then, they sort of gave us our options, and then people wanted to build AI models, data science, this and this. To be quite honest with you, that stuff, it's like, don't get me wrong, like, I can do the technical stuff, but I prefer the soft skill stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do our postgrad research on user experience design. But I picked particularly social media and sort of the tactics that user experience designers that work for these social media organizations, the tactics that they employ to sort of keep you on your apps.
What type of tactics?
So now that's the thing, right? So let's break it down. So you look at your biggest apps or the apps that you use, the most. If you're 80% of the population, this is a number that I'm just thumb sucking. It's probably going to be a social media application. It's going to be your Facebook, your TikToks, your Instagram, and that sort of stuff, right? Which is cool because it's fun to be on there. But then, don't you think it's concerning that the apps that we spend the most of our time on, like those apps are free? Telling me these organizations, they're so generous, hey? Instagram went out of their way to build this app and they gave it to me and they said, here you go, enjoy. What's in it for Instagram?
The data.
Exactly, right? These are just all data mining organizations. There's a very real reason why, and check it out next time, right? So I forgot if it was TikTok or Instagram. There's an update that they made where if you're scrolling, I think, on your For You page, if it's TikTok or your Reels on Instagram, you can't see the time anymore.
Really?
Yeah, you can't see the time. The time's been removed.
When was this?
I'll show you after on my personal page, so I'm not talking nonsense. But you can't see the time anymore, right?
Yo.
It's these small design tweaks that sort of keep you narrowed in, sort of focused in on your screen. It's their objective to hone you on this. Because ultimately, with every like, with every comment, with shares, saves and that sort of stuff, your algorithm knows more about you.
Yeah.
So now it knows, Dibza likes cars. He likes things that are full of adrenaline. So whenever we are approached by an organization, we have enough data to give like proper estimations about the adverts that we're going to send to people. It can show me a Red Bull ad because, people that like cars and like adrenaline are more likely to buy energy drinks. They can start making informed decisions because ultimately these are just all advertising companies. No more billboards that people drive past, but no, they put the advert on your phone and you're the one that goes to it. Do you get what I'm saying? So it was just like, that's what sparked me. It's like, geez, man, it's so concerning. And once you start doing the research, it's sketchy.
It's
bro.
a rabbit hole.
It is sketchy.
There's a story from the US of a girl whose parents found out she was pregnant because based on her web searches, the local grocery store sent her house coupons for baby stuff. I'm like, what? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So that's the world we live in. In my master's research, we were looking at the biases that exist in algorithms, and how there's so many academic papers that showed in the early days of Google that if you were Googling black people are, and then it would auto-finish it with everything that's negative because on the internet...
That's the information
that exists over there. So, and a practical example of this was I was at a friend's place in Midrand and I was trying to get an Uber home. The name on my Uber app is Itumeleng. That's my name. I'm standing as far as you are with me with this guy. When I request, the price was $170 to go home.
Sure.
And I would request, I couldn't find a driver. But when he was requesting for my address, and we are standing right next to each other, and he has an English name on his app, it was 50 Rand cheaper.
Really?
And we found a driver within 2 minutes.
Really?
Bro.
Wow.
Bro. Wow. So my research was basically saying that there are biases that exist in the algorithms that run our lives. And they exist because the people that write them are of a certain gender or a certain ethnicity, and the data of which these agents are learning these behavior from is bad data, because the data that exists out there on the internet is bad. You know, if everything that's negative about black people is on the internet, and you're expecting an AI agent to learn from the internet, then it's going to think that anything that's black is bad. You know, anything that's not English is good or bad or whatever. So, whoa, like what you just said is just
it's terrifying. And I think that's why I'm a firm advocate for getting off social media as often as possible. Like, it's so ironic to have someone with a big following,
a huge following,
telling not really
a huge
your way, come on. But I believe in this stuff, man. And it's also why I hate it when people call me a TikToker. I'm not a TikToker. I have a TikTok account the same way everyone else on TikTok has a TikTok account. But it's my pinned videos. Like, take as many breaks from social media as much as you possibly can. Because it's also such a... You think about it, man. It's a very inhumane thing to do. Nowhere in nature is it ever natural for, a creature with our build and our shape and our mobility to sit and, you know what I'm saying? It's just not normal. And I just feel like, be aware, be conscious of the time that you're spending on here and, the content that you're consuming. Because, this life thing can get so difficult. It's just like, part of my research, it was just basically talking about like some of the harmful effects, of spending. So it looked at what these designers do to get you to spend time on these apps and the consequences of spending time on these apps. And more often than not, and like quite literally in every sort of comparable metric that we used, we found that people were just negatively impacted by the time that they spent on here. Let's say, for example, Dumeling, things aren't going too well for myself at the moment, and, I get on TikTok or Instagram, and then I just start looking at you, man. You got this nice podcast. Things are working out for you. It's normal to start projecting feelings of insecurity over myself because of these things. And in a normal world, you can sort of get away from it. Let's say I see you at work or I see you at school. I can sort of, for that 15 or 10 hours or so that we're together, sure. And then I go back home. But now I'm taking it with me. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm looking at these videos and I hate this guy. You know what I'm saying? But now, what does the algorithm do? It'll show me more people like you because clearly I'm invested in this content. And what happens? My next scroll is another person that's doing great and another person that's doing great. What am I doing? I'm effectively just burying myself in constant reminders that I'm nowhere where I need to be in life and that sort of stuff. And then before you know it, bro, you're miserable. You know what I'm saying?
It's unfortunate how these big tech companies have hijacked the vulnerabilities that exist in the human psyche because, okay, we live in the 21st century, right? Yeah. But then we are still no more different than the caveman that came out of the caves like 12, 20,000 years ago. Like, we honestly no different from that. Because, like you just mentioned that we tend to focus on the negatives. Yeah. Why is that? That is because if we took away the privileges that we enjoy in the 21st century world, air conditioning, cars, the internet, whatnot, it was just us and nature. Yeah. You really had to be aware of the possibility of danger coming. Sure. 100%. You really had to be aware that there could be an attack at any moment. At any moment. And evolutionary speaking, that was an advantage because you had to then prepare for the worst case scenario. In the 21st century, that means your neighbor buying a better car than you. That's the worst thing that can happen to you because now you've cemented this idea that I am so pathetic. Why am I not buying a new car? Or you see the post of someone working out. I'm so pathetic. Why am I not working out? When you can. You should be.
You should be. Why beg? And I think that you sort of led right into what I was about to say, right? The onus lies on you. It's your responsibility to take control of how you feel. Do you know what I'm saying? And, I don't think anyone can stop an emotion from emerging, but they can create an environment where it's difficult for that emotion to emerge. It's your responsibility at the end of the day. And I just wish people were a bit more conscious about this. Yeah. You see it. Now, in how comfortable people are saying horrible things on the internet,
bro.
How free they feel.
Bro.
Just they're open. It's it's like there's not a chance you would say this to this person to their face. Not a chance. But because you've allowed yourself to get, consumed by the negative narratives that you're reading into, and you sort of, I think people that are horrible on the internet are just projecting how they feel about themselves. That's the honest truth. Like, there are normal things that normal people do, and there are abnormal things that abnormal people do. Let's be honest. You know what I'm saying?
There's a paper that I read a few months ago that shows that the state of mind that people find themselves in when they're on social media is almost the exact as the state of mind people find themselves in when they have road rage. Because when you are driving, one of the things that's happening is you are aware that you are in a very unnatural state. You are traveling at 100 kilometers
in a metal box.
In a metal box, and anything that was to happen traveling at those speeds, it's over. And so when you have someone who is changing lanes without indicating, you're so hyper focused, like, could have killed me, And on social media, it's the same thing. Like, you are so triggered by everything that is negative, because naturally that's what we are prone to pay attention to. I used to take breaks from social media, and the latest one was, I came back to Instagram after like a 6-month hiatus last month. And for me, I am unable to remove myself from getting sucked into,
like, sort of,
like I get sucked into this perfectly curated image of myself that I've created on Instagram, where I work out, I run, I take walks, I read, I do all these things, I work, normal things. But then as soon as I post too much of these things on social media, the question that comes to me is, did I take that walk so that I can post it? Or did I want to take that walk? Did I go to the gym because I wanted to post it? Or
did I actually want to go to the
so I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to step back so that I can rediscover the reasons why I do the things that I do. And a good friend of mine was saying what you're saying, where you still have the opportunity on social media to curate what you want to see. If you are saying baddies and whatnot, it's because that's like the camera on that phone is seeing that the microseconds you are spending on that one clip
on
at
that
the
one
corner
clip,
there, and so I've gotten to a point now where if I see something that I know is going to trigger me, I go to him like, not interested. Now the things that I see are the things that I want to see, and it becomes easier to stay a bit longer on social media, but then eventually you fall back into that same trap of okay, I went on a run this morning, and it's just been a month since I've been back on Instagram, and it's coming back to me like, did I run because I wanted to, or because I'm going to post about it? And that, as soon as that feeling comes into my mind, I get this thing of maybe it's time to step back.
It's time to take a little bit. That's actually so important. But I think, this is something that, again, I wish more and more people would be a bit more conscious about the things that they do.